Are you, like me, one of the many adults who have ditched their Adderall prescription for cannabis? Yes, cannabis for focus. I'm Katherine Goldberg, and I'm going to explain. First of all, we all know that cannabis affects everyone differently. Because of that, I made this cool cannabis tracking PDF that you get when you subscribe to my blog for free. There's a space to fill out the product, the terpenes, the minor cannabinoids, how you feel. I honestly believe what gets measured gets managed. And I wasn't happy with any of the journals that I saw online, so I made my own. It comes in your welcome email, and of course, it's free. Um, that's the first thing. Second of all, I'm not a doctor. I am a cannabis enthusiast and scientific communicator, and I love to bridge those two things together. If you are going to consume cannabis or change your regimen, please speak to your doctor about it. I hope that after listening to this conversation, you'll feel more confident talking to your doctor if that's something you want to do. So let's take a step back and talk about cannabis for focus. And I know a lot of people are going to tell me in the comments that I'm out of my mind, that everyone knows that cannabis doesn't help you focus. I don't think that's necessarily true. Um, I think we need to take a step back and to explore what are some of the impediments of focus in the first place. For example, if you are someone who has trouble eating and you don't eat enough and it's hard to focus because you haven't eaten enough, that's an issue. If you are someone with stomach issues and your stomach is upset and that's why you can't focus, cannabis could help. If you are someone in chronic pain and that is taking up all of your neural real estate and there's nothing left for focus, cannabis could help. So I don't think it's a wild idea. I think we just have to be clear that it's not a one size fits all. So the cannabis that helps me focus may not help you focus. And that is exactly why this tracker is so cool, because we all need to find out for ourselves. So I think also the best evidence of this idea that cannabis helps you focus comes from the literature on kids with autism who are prescribed often a 1-to-1 THC to CBD ratio of cannabis in the form of a tincture. And they go from, unable to sit still to being able to sit still. They're unable to make eye contact, and then suddenly they can make eye contact. Many of them become verbal for the first time. This tells me that cannabis does in fact help a lot of people focus. I think we need to be clear that focus and memory are two different things. And although cannabis can help us focus and can help us connect unrelated ideas and make novel connections, cannabis does impair memory. So know that going into it. Perhaps you have backup systems so that you don't have to rely on your brain all the time. I think that's worth mentioning. So let's get into the specific kind of cannabis that I believe helps with focus the most. So, of course, we know the sativa hybrid indica dichotomy is sort of out the window. It comes down to percentages of cannabinoids and terpenes, and of course, all these other variables like how it's grown and how it's cured and how it's trimmed. And like there are a lot of variables that go into how cannabis affects you. But let's talk about THCV, which is kind of called the diet weed cannabinoid because THCV blocks the CB1 receptor that THC normally interacts with to make you high and to give you the munchies. So many people report to feeling like really clear headed, really energized, really like agile when they use THCV. However, if you've been to the dispensary recently, you may have noticed that there's really no THCV flower out there. And that's because it probably won't sell. It's hard to grow, whatever. I did see one THCV vape, but it's by Cookies. So, you decide for yourself. Anyway, so it seems like, by the way, something that people have brought up that I'm going to start to introduce slowly is that if you want to control the effect of your cannabis, edibles might be your best bet because of the fact that they're consistent and because like smoking, it's going to be a different batch every time. So what might help you focus one week, if you buy it next month, it might be totally different. So Kiva has made phenomenal edibles since the beginning of the industry. I remember buying them in 2012 when they were only making chocolates. And then they came out with their gummy line. And that's when they introduced these THCV energy gummies. They were combined with caffeine and B vitamins. So it was like the perfect product ever. I think they're still on sale. I just don't have any right now. But Kiva realized that a lot of us use cannabis in the morning and we want to focus, we want to be energized, we want to be productive. And this was a great product. They're the Camino Gummies. I think they're sold. And if there's one brand that's going to become like the nationwide cannabis brand, I would bet on Kiva because they're in all the states, I think. And it's consistently a great product. So coming into this. So they recently launched these like fruit chews that are strain specific. This is what I have here. They are so good. So this is really cool because these are made from Jack Herrera. I've been pronouncing that wrong the entire time. Herrera. Jack Herrera. Is that right? Someone's going to tell me in the comments. So please, I'm willing to learn. Anyway, Jack Herrera is my favorite sativa dominant flower. Of course, there's no such thing as sativa anymore, and it's a hybrid. But it is very energizing because the main terps in it are terpinolene, limonene, and beta caryophyllene. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Which is going to give you an energizing but calming effect. So the two things are true at the same time, right? Which is kind of why I think cannabis helps with so many different conditions. So this product, by the way, it's from that Jack Herrera strain, and then they've added in THCV. I'm pretty happy with it. I had one this morning before my workout. I didn't think it was as energizing as their energizing gummies. They don't claim to be energizing. But I enjoyed it very much. I think it's a great product. There's another more energizing product from 1906. If you're not familiar, I'm like, these are the best. They're these little drops, little pills, and they are microdosed and have 2.5 milligrams of THC in each. And they have a whole line. So this is the Genius line, but they also have Go for Energy. They have Love Drops. They have Chill. They have Sleep. So they basically mix the cannabis with other ingredients, other herbs that promote mental clarity and focus. And I take the Go before the elliptical. And then when I'm ready to work, I take the Genius. So between those two products, I'm pretty good on the focus for cannabis part. I'm curious, do you use cannabis to help you focus? And if so, please tell me everything. Tell me how this came to you and what products you use and anything else that you think might help others, because the more we share our stories about how we use cannabis in mindful ways to become the best versions of ourselves, the faster we'll change the stigma and narrative of like the lazy stoner, because that clearly is not many of us. So cannabis for focus, I'm going to say it's a combination of low THC, perhaps some THCV, and the terpenes that are really going to make the difference. And the terpenes are going to be more of the energizing terpenes. And that's my favorite kind of weed. So if you are able to find products like this, I hope you enjoy them too. And yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts because I realize this is a bit of an unusual topic, even for me. So I appreciate your attention and your enthusiasm and love for this plant. And I'll see you next week.